In the Kubernetes ecosystem, managing applications at scale isn't just about container orchestration. It's about operational excellence. Today, we're diving deep into how regulated industries like telcos and financial service institutions transform their Kubernetes operations with Flux. From managing thousands of network functions to ensuring compliance in financial services, our guests have battle-tested Flux in some of the most demanding environments imaginable. They'll share not just the what, but the how and why of GitOps with Flux in production. Let's start with Philippe Ensarguet from Orange, whose journey into building services on Flux began with a critical realization about Kubernetes at scale.
The way I jumped into GitOps is quite simple. It was around 2018. So I was CTO of a big digital part of Orange, running the enterprise business. And at that time, basically what I was observing is that a lot of people are spending their time doing CI/CD. So we got perfect CI/CD chain. And why it was so much pain when we were reaching the production. And for me, it was the syndrome of hitting the scaling wall. Hitting the scaling wall is you spend a lot of energy doing your integration, your deployment, but perhaps you do not have invested enough to manage properly your operation. And I was very, very curious at that time how to fix this, because honestly, it was a really pain for us.
Philippe's search for a solution led him to the CNCF ecosystem and a pivotal conversation with Alexis Richardson. Here's how that relationship shaped Orange's Kubernetes strategy.
At that moment in time, I was already implied into the Cloud Native Computing Foundation ecosystem, and basically, I've started a conversation with a guy who, at that time, was running the TOC of the CNCF, and it was this guy was Alexis Richardson, and so it's the way I discovered, I may say, Alexis, and I've started exchanging with him. And so he pointed out about, you should have a look on GitOps and so on. So we dig on this, and it was extremely interesting. And around 2020, basically, I was bringing support toward the Orange Venture Capital part, and we were scouting for, I would say, breakthrough on next generation of technology company. And we had the opportunity as Orange to invest into the Weaveworks company. And I became, at that time, board advisor for Weaveworks. And I spent, I would say, more than 3 years working close to Alexis and the Weaveworks team. And I certainly bring some, I would say, advice or tips, or I was one morning the good guy, the other morning the bad guys, just to, I would say, the right sparring partner like you do when you are board advisor. But you cannot imagine how much I learned. I think that Alexis is one of the guys, the most inspirational for me that I met in my whole professional life.
While Philippe was collaborating with Weaveworks, he made a crucial discovery about who else was using Flux at massive scale, and it validated everything.
At that time, I was questioning myself, who on earth is currently running Kubernetes at scale with things that are so complex that it's very close to what we got in the telco industry. So I look at, I would say, AWS, Google, and Azure, because they were running Kubernetes fleets at very impressive scale. And under the hood, I just realized that Azure and AWS were Flux CD houses. So I said to myself, if it works for those guys with the level of scaling they are and the complexity they're managing, it's certainly something that could really help us. And it's how we started.
Meanwhile, at Nomura Bank, Arnab Chatterjee was facing similar Kubernetes challenges. Let's hear his perspective on what GitOps with Flux actually means for Kubernetes operations.
GitOps is nothing. It's a modern way of managing infrastructure and applications where Git repository or Git lab, whatever you call, serves as a single source of truth. Think of it like this, instead of manually tweaking configurations or applying updates, everything is declaratively defined in a Git repository. And then a GitOps operator, be it a tool like Flux or Argo CD, would continuously ensure that your actual system state machine matches what's stored in the Git. Now, the question is how and why GitOps is changing the game. There are a few pointers to it. I'll start with the deployments are getting faster, they're getting more reliable. Now, with GitOps, deployment becomes as simple as a git commit and a git push. No more logging into servers or running kubectl apply manually. Instead of that, you have automated pipelines that apply the changes. It reduces human errors and makes rollbacks as easy as reverting a commit. That's fascinating, isn't it?
Both organizations took Flux from concept to production, but their implementations reveal different aspects of Flux's power. Let's see how Orange built their network integration factory.
We implemented at Orange something that we call the network integration factory, and it's basically 100%, I would say, GitOps implementation based on FluxCD to manage network function deployment and infrastructure deployment and the lifecycle management, and it's also up to the operation. So it's basically the way I discover and enter into the world of GitOps and how FluxCD has become the de facto implementation for GitOps runtime.
Orange's implementation extends beyond their own infrastructure. Philippe leads Project SYLVR, transforming the entire telecom industry's approach to Kubernetes.
Project SYLVR is a Linux Foundation Europe hosted project aiming at implementing an industrial-grade cloud-native telco stack to run core, RAN, and edge services and network function. The initial story behind SYLVR is super interesting. We are really, as I would say, between operator peers and network function vendors using open source as a true catalyst. So here we want to bring the commons, share the resources to take time on what makes us unique. And you know what? When we are talking between peers in Europe initially, honestly, the need and the requirement for having an cloud-native infrastructure were very, very, very similar. So instead of implementing, 5 tenths that are average, why don't you implement altogether one but very good? And it's how the SYLVR project has started. So it has been launched in November 2023. During the One Summit in Seattle. And in the background, we were working between peers and network function vendors to do the preparation. By book, SYLVR is free think.
The power of Flux becomes even clearer when we look at specific Kubernetes features. Arnab walks us through how Flux handles everything from drift detection to automated rollbacks.
You have security and compliance getting bolstered. Since Git acts as a single source of truth, you get a clear, audit-friendly record of every change. No more guessing who modified a configuration file or when. Everything is version controlled, and it does make compliance really easy. Coming to next, infrastructure is now self-healing. How? It's because GitOps doesn't just deploy applications. It ensures that they stay in the desired state. If someone accidentally changes a config directly on a running system, GitOps would detect the drift and automatically correct it, restoring the system to its intended state. Also, it improves collaboration and developer productivity. Now, with GitOps, infrastructure is managed using the same Git-based workflow developers already love. This means that the dev teams can easily propose changes via pull requests, get approvals, and apply updates without needing any specific operational dependency or knowledge. This is the future of GitOps. GitOps is gaining massive traction, especially in cloud-native environments like Kubernetes. We are on the cusp of KubeCon, the good time to bring it in. As automation and DevSecOps becomes a standard, expect GitOps to play even a bigger role in how companies deploy, scale, and securing applications.
But Flux isn't just about deployment. It's about comprehensive Kubernetes governance. Here's how it transforms cluster management.
It's a very powerful GitOps tool designed to manage application deployment and infrastructure automation within the Kubernetes environment. It enhances governance and traceability in CI/CD workflows by ensuring that all the changes are auditable, compliant, and automatically input. Now, if I list out the kind of things, the gamut of things that Flux carries out, it's massive. So I'll just get started with few. Like, for example, Flux ensures that every infrastructure and application change is stored in Git, providing a complete, immutable history of modification. What does this do? This guarantees auditability and version control, which is critical for compliance frameworks like SOC 2, GDPR, etc. Now, teams can implement further branch protection rules, pull request approvals, and code reviews to enforce governance before changes reaches the production. We're coming on to policy enforcement and security control. We spoke about RBAC. So Flux integrates with most of the Kubernetes RBACs, all Kubernetes RBAC, to restrict any unauthorized changes. Only approved Git commits trigger good updates. Talking about policy as code, Flux would work alongside things like Iverno, OPA, Gatekeeper to ensure compliance policies before applying changes. Talk about automated secret managers. It integrates with sealed secrets, SOPs, HashiCorp port, everything. Sensitive data remains encrypted and is never exposed in Git repository. So the fundamental elements that I spoke in the last answer of the question are all taken care by Flux.
In regulated industries, Kubernetes security isn't optional. Both financial services and telecom have strict compliance requirements. Let's explore how Flux ensures security at every level.
In highly regulated industries such as take finance, healthcare, a government sector, compliance and security are two aspects that are non-negotiable. GitOps provides a structured, automated approach to manage infrastructure and applications while ensuring that regulatory requirements are met. And here are the few things that it does. The immutable audit trail for compliance. Now, regulated industries require a very clear documentation of every change to infrastructure and applications. There is no getting off it. Since GitOps using Git as a single source of truth, every configuration is version controlled, which means it's tracked with all the commit histories. It's auditable, which means that you would know who changed what and when. They're also reproducible because rollbacks and recreations are absolutely seamless. This helps organization to meet several compliance frameworks, be it SOC, HIPAA, GDPR, etc. The second is enforcing policy and access control. Now, with GitOps, how it takes care is you've got RBACs. Instead of granting direct access to production environment, GitOps enforces changes via Git workflows, ensuring that only authorized personnel can propose or approve updates. Bring in policy as code. So we have got Kubernetes tools, Kubernetes ecosystem governing tools such as OPA or Kyverno that acts as policy engines. They enforce security policies before the changes are even merged. This prevents a lot of misconfiguration. Then you come to automated security and drift detection. GitOps continuously monitors the actual state of the system against the desired state that's stored in Git. If any unauthorized changes occur, whether it's due to a human error or a malicious activity, GitOps tools such as Argo CD or Flux would automatically revert to the compliant state.
Philippe approaches this from the perspective of declarative, intent-based systems, a fundamental shift in how we think about Kubernetes operations.
Is the imperative way where the oral culture is heavily important and present. So for me, the very interesting topic with GitOps is the imperative, it is the declarative and the intent. When you are working on an intent, it means that we got this immutability firewall. Once you get the deployment stage, all that is happening after the deployment, basically, we should have no human intervention on the production. So it means that where the magic of GitOps and Flux CD is happening is that it's keeping the synchronization of what is really deployed and what we got into, I would say, in our source of truth. And so it means that if you want to push things in production, an update, a security patches, or whatever you need, you change the source of truth, and then you have a reconciliation that is happening, and you have the deployment of the new artifact or the new things that need to be updated. So it means that everything is traceable, readable. So for me, when you are working in a very highly regulated environment, using GitOps and Flux CD as a GitOps runtime is bringing naturally, I would say, confidence for the team because everything is traceable, readable, can be reproducible.
For developers working with Kubernetes, Flux fundamentally changes the experience. No more kubectl nightmares, no more direct cluster access. Here's what that means in practice.
Flux significantly enhances the developer experience in GitOps by doing what? By streamlining deployments, it increases automation, and most importantly, it improves the visibility into the application and infrastructure state. And I'll just list out a few key ways Flux improves developer experience. The first is it simplifies the deployment process. Flux eliminates the need for manual deployment steps by ensuring that all changes are managed through Git. So now the developers can deploy application by simply pushing changes to their code repository. They avoid any direct integration with Kubernetes, which means the whole complexity, as we call, it's working with Kubernetes, deploying things into Kubernetes was looked upon as a rabbit hole that goes away. Maintain consistency across environment without additional manual configuration. So this reduces deployment friction and ensures a reliable, repeatable process. So developer does its own job. He goes, checks in his code, gets deployed on its own. Second point is it improves visibility and observability. Flux integrates with most of the monitoring and logging tools like Prometheus, Loki, Grafana, and it provides real-time insights into the deployment status, which means so what is running in the cluster, health monitoring, alerts for misconfiguration or failures, change tracking, a complete history of who made what changes and when. So what this does, it increases transparency and allows developer to quickly diagnose and resolve the various issues. It also enhances automation and efficiency. Flux automates reconciliation and drift detection, ensuring that the live cluster state always matches a desired state in Git. Key automation features include automated rollbacks. So if an issue is detected, Flux can revert to the last stable version. Continuous synchronization. Any unauthorized or accidental changes are automatically corrected. And image update automation. It keeps deployment up to date with the latest tested version. So by reducing manual intervention, Flux allows developer to focus on coding rather than managing the infrastructure. That is the biggest win.
The developer experience extends to advanced deployment strategies. Arnab shares how Flux enables sophisticated Kubernetes patterns.
Flux support, this is a very interesting feature of Flux. It supports progressive delivery strategies. You talk about canary deployments, where you gradually roll out changes to a subset of users instead of the entire shebang. And again, a blue-green deployment, where you have to switch between two different production environments to minimize the risk. This capabilities allows developer to deploy a new feature with greater confidence while minimizing any kind of disruption. So it's more of a developer-centric GitOps approach where, Flux enhances the GitOps workflow by making deployments faster, more secure, and easy to manage. By automating reconciliation, improving observability, and enforcing consistency, it enables developers to focus on the application development rather than operational complexity.
Beyond individual features, Flux provides comprehensive observability for Kubernetes operations. Here's how teams actually monitor and manage their Flux-powered clusters.
Every change you make is tracked, deviations are automatically fixed, and if you take a wrong turn, it smoothly reroutes you back to the right path. No more getting lost in deployment chaos, just a smooth, reliable journey from commit to production.
Flux's reconciliation model is particularly powerful for maintaining cluster state. Here's Arnab's brilliant analogy.
Managing CI/CD without Flux is like wrestling an octopus. Every time you think you've got things under control, you get a tentacle. From a tentacle, I mean an unauthorized change. Flux here acts as an expert handler, keeping every deployment in check, tracking every move, and ensuring nothing drifts out of place. Fascinating, isn't it?
Adopting Flux in enterprise Kubernetes environments requires organizational change. Both guests learned valuable lessons about the transformation journey.
I think it's very important to be open to change. From my experience, what I've seen is GitOps is a paradigm shift. From people who worked with a mindset where you have a development team, an operations team, a deployment team, it is a paradigm shift. And it is a very, very opinionated framework. Kubernetes itself runs on an opinionated framework. So it's a shift of approach of adapting to new things. So there will be an important initial learning curve with that. But I'll tell you, once that initial curve is gone, once you've adapted to the changes, it's very, very smooth sailing. So my one request to everybody that we go is don't give up on it. If there is a good amount of investment, be it people investment, be it monetary investment, go for it. It's a one-time investment. Once you are on the train, it flies. So don't give up early. Take out time. Make sure that you're onto it. Focus on it. and slowly move your brownfield to greenfield.
For organizations evaluating open source Kubernetes tools, Arnab shares insights on how regulated industries approach CNCF projects like Flux.
I think CNCF has a very managed strategy of tagging every particular CNCF project that it goes ahead, be it the state of being in incubation or be it stand in a sandbox state or being in production ready state. In any company that is regulated industry, most of them actually go ahead and adopt CNCF based projects.
Looking ahead, both organizations see Flux as fundamental to their Kubernetes strategy. Philippe shares how the patterns they've developed are shaping the future of cloud-native telecom.
Why GitOps and Flux are critical for the SYLVR project? The answer is quite simple. The project SYLVR is 100% intent-based GitOps process. So it means that we are heavily using CAPI, so cluster API, to bootstrap on bare metal or in a virtual machine environment, the cluster and the node we need to scale basically our infrastructure. So everything is declarative, intent-based, and I would say that the control tower that is making the deployment possible and being the global orchestrator in the background is FluxCD. So FluxCD is at the very core foundation of SYLVR, and it's the control tower that allows to manage the deployment. So it's about the setup, but it's also about the upgrade that we can have on the lifetime of the infrastructure we are implementing.
The impact extends beyond technology. Here's Arnab's perspective on how Flux transforms not just Kubernetes operations, but entire organizations.
Developing with Flux is like using a GPS with auto-correcting navigation. So every change you make is tracked, deviations are automatically fixed, and if you take a wrong turn, it smoothly reroutes you back to the right path. No more getting lost in deployment chaos, just a smooth, reliable journey from commit to production.
From Orange's network integration factory to financial service institutions governance framework, from Project Silva to progressive delivery patterns, we've seen how Flux isn't just managing Kubernetes clusters. It's revolutionizing how enterprises operate at scale. The message from both Philippe and Arnab is clear. In the world of Kubernetes, GitOps with Flux isn't just a nice to have. It's a foundation of reliable, compliant, and developer-friendly operations. Whether you're managing 5 clusters or 5,000, the patterns and practices we've explored today provide a roadmap for Kubernetes excellence. Remember Arnab's advice. There's a learning curve, but don't give up. The investment in Flux pays dividends in operational excellence. In our next and final episode, we'll hear from Mirantis, GitLab, and Microsoft about how they're integrating Flux into their platforms and services, from Kubernetes lifecycle management to continuous delivery and managed GitOps in the cloud.